Greetings, everybody. This is Symphony431 here, and alongside me are my friends, Mr. J and our buddy Jordan. How you doing?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Hey, everybody. Glad to be here.
All right, this is episode 2 of Weeb Warriors. Yes, Jay has a thing for alliteration. We all know this.
Yeah, that was my idea. My bad.
And why is it on my channel, you guys are asking? Well, last week when we were trying to do episode 2, Jay had a bit of technical difficulties. And so
I almost destroyed my computer because it wanted to be a little bitch and not cooperate. So I was like, Tony, you're gonna handle operations from now on because technology. Apparently, Google will only allow me to have one live show per week.
And by the power of Grayskull, I figured out how to work with YouTube's live streaming, and somehow we ended up here. So there we go. But anyway, enough about our technology problems. Let's talk about anime. So, the shows that we'll be talking about this week are Megalobox, High School DxD, Tokyo Ghoul Re, Hinamatsuri, Comic Girls, and you two will be talking about My Hero Academia. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so let's save a lot of the bigger shows towards the end. So, what should we start off with, guys?
Well, if we're going to hold off on the bigger shows, I guess we should talk about the, currently single-run animes, Comic Girls and Hinamatsuri.
Yeah, right. So which one do you guys want to do first, Comic Girls or Hinamatsuri?
Let's go ahead and do Hinamatsuri because I just finished watching that episode a few days, yesterday actually, the latest episode.
Cool.
So has the show already been introduced in episode 1?
We talked about we introduced the premise in episode 1. If you guys want further context for that, go watch the episode. Tony can leave a link in the description post live for episode 1. I'll give that to him once we wrap up.
Yeah, that's easy. So if you guys look back from that video, we last left off with episode 4. Now we're going into episode 5. This is actually a Anzu-focused episode for the first half of it, actually. It's actually quite entertaining. We get more of Anzu's homeless life.
Is collecting cans that profitable of an industry? I mean, obviously she doesn't make much money, but it seems like it's a lot more effort than I had assumed it was. Because she makes it like a whole trek.
So collecting cans has been a popular income source for many homeless people, and it varies between nation to nation, but essentially the logic is that to ensure that these cans are properly recycled, they allow you to get some sort of cash return for improperly recycled cans if you drop them off at a recycling center. And given Japan's particular, I guess, not necessarily interest, but emphasis on recycling, I can see why that would be at least a survivable source of income for these homeless people.
And one thing that I like to know is, as someone who does collect cans, but that's for like random bus fare money, it's kind of difficult, especially when you have people that want to throw away their cans for no good reason. It's annoying as shit.
Also, Jordan, since you weren't in the first episode, what were your initial thoughts on Hinamatsuri? And what did you think of the characters, the premise, the execution of the comedy, and all that good jazz?
So when I first came in, I didn't really have many expectations. I only watched it because I knew we'd be discussing it on Weeb Warriors. The first episode, I immediately fell in love. Well, not immediately, but I quickly fell in love with Hina. She is hilarious with her deadpan expressions. There's a dare for this. I just can't think of it. I want to say ku, but that seems incorrect.
I think it's dare. I want to say it's dare, but I'm not entirely sure.
But either way, she is hilarious. Her use of psychic powers is both disturbing and hilarious. And the first 2 episodes where she's using them rather using them in a very cavalier fashion, it really sort of sets the tone about the world that she comes from. and really gives her some juxtaposition. I died during their Look That Way contest between her and Anzu at
that
River
was
Parade.
hilarious. That was one of my favorite parts. Probably the funniest part for me for that, within the first 2 episodes was when she voluntarily took on the rival Yakuza gang, and you just hear all the gangsters being thrown through windows yelling, "Ouchie! Ouchie!"
Yeah, no, that was just terrible, honestly. I've never seen someone get disrespected that badly, and in like a non-shonen based anime, like yeah, that was just abusive.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. Yeah.
But honestly, the character that I like the most is actually Hitomi.
Yeah, Hitomi has a lot of layers to her because she's the straight man in this crazy world, which is this crazy setting, which is what I like about her. It's pretty fun, especially in episode the other half of episode 5, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, Hitomi's great.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So she definitely came in as a character that I wasn't sure how well she was going to be played up, and she has really blown me away with how well characterized she is. She's really just, I guess, a sweet girl that ends up in these very strange situations, and it's just very funny, especially the way that they draw her facial expressions, because Anzu is typically sort of like a very deeply introspective character, and it's trying to find her own path in life and balance being homeless and trying to have fun with her friends and make friends for the first time in her life. Hina is pretty stale as far as facial expressions are concerned, and emotions and conversation. She's funny, but in a situational way. Whereas Hitomi, her faces are just
they're gold. They are gold.
I know. Yeah, she has some of the best expressions, especially like I said in episode 5. So yeah, we talked about the first half of episode 5, with Anzu and her homeless life. I thought it was pretty cool, like, because like Jordan was saying, it's kind of Anzu trying to match up to the standards that are set by Hina, because we know Hina has a quote unquote dad and a place to live, and she has all these different luxuries like video games. And Hina, I made this joke with Tony because Tony has a very like non-tact way of approaching conversation. And when she's like, yeah, no, when what's it? Anzu is showing her like the cat's cradle thing with like the yarn and stuff. She's like, look how awesome this is. And she goes, I can teach you. Yeah, we can play together. I'll show you how to do it. She goes, that's boring. Video games are way better. And she goes, but I can't afford video games. And I love that Hina just can't understand. It's like, what do you mean you can't afford video games? You make money, right? All you have to do is give the people money, and they give you the stuff.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Just totally oblivious about the value of $1. And actually, I think, not to get too deep into it or anything, but Anzu's character arc, especially in the first half of episode 5, really touches on something essential about human nature, and how when we are preoccupied with essential survival, or essentially the bottom level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we feel fulfilled in obtaining the bare necessities. But when we are removed from that, and we have to move into these higher levels of like self-actualization, self-transcendence, we begin to realize that there are these deeper dimensions of our life that we struggle to deal with. And for Anzu, this gets shown as her lack of satisfaction with just her daily life.
And I definitely agree with you there, because if you compare, like, to get into that kind of headspace, like if you compare first world countries like the US and the UK versus third world countries like, say, Thailand or the Philippines, or some parts of Thailand, the Philippines, and like other parts of Asia, like a lot of people do live in what we would consider like slums or like ghettos, but they actually are a lot happier than a lot of people that live in like the bigger metropolitan areas. Because I did a research project on happiness and the like perception of happiness, and I interviewed a lot of people that originated from third world countries versus people that are like second generation that were born here, and a lot of them, define happiness differently, and are the people that are have to have to make do with less are actually happier with less. So I do kind of see where that mindset is coming from with Anzu.
Yeah, and her just like seeing the perspective of these homeless individuals, like the head of the homeless community is smiling when he taught her how to do the trick with the yarn.
Yeah, because it reminds him of his granddaughter. I thought that was really cute. I thought that was a nice moment.
That was a great moment. Then her desperation to actually like compare herself to Hina and her lifestyle and her quest to actually acquire electronics to like play video games is actually hysterical, because she was while she was contemplating this, I just was amused while I was watching the episode myself that she was just deciding to draw shit, and then towards the end of it, she actually just, after her music, while she was musing, she just added on to that. It grew a foot. Super weird.
I also just like the Anzu's reaction when she talks about, oh yeah, I made a friend too, and she talks about Hitomi, and then Hina's like, I'm gonna call somebody to help us out. And she's like, I'd call my friend Hitomi too, but I don't know how to communicate with her. And Hitomi shows up, and Anzu's just like, the fuck? Wait,
how are you here? You're at school, and then you could kind of see a little bit of despair and some despair and disappointment. Like, oh, really? You made friends first? Oh, that's great.
Because like that's kind of the thing. Like, Anzu felt as though like Hitomi was the one thing that she had that Hina didn't, because she wasn't aware that Hina had made any friends besides Anzu. And so that so you could definitely see the jealousy on both aspects of like the fact that, oh, you have other friends, and oh, so I'm not your only friend with Hitomi also. So I think that was really cool. But I also like that Hitomi genuinely does care for Anzu, and you see that with all the effort she went through just trying to get the TV for her, and the interview with the police officer was hilarious.
Oh yeah, that shit was funny. Like, this poor girl just gets into situations that end up ruining little aspects of her life. And we shouldn't laugh, but we laugh anyway because the situation is just that surreal.
Definitely. I agree with you there.
And speaking of surreal shit going down, the other half of episode 5.
Okay, well, we've talked about Jordan. What did you think of the second half of episode 5? The case of the pedophile. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a mixture of things, right? So for one, it really gave us a chance to look at Hitomi's day-to-day life, and by extension, Hina's at the school, and sort of get to see what her friend circle is and the things that they care about. I can't think of her name, but let's just call her Glasses. She is
Glasses.
She is way too smart for her own age, and when she entrapped Hitomi with that "aren't we friends" thing in the Tiny Lady, I died. I just about died.
Oh man! And then she just kept making her repeat the phrase, "I'm a middle school bartender." Say it like you mean it.
And then everyone clapped. I was just like, what is going on here?
Right? Oh man, that was so good.
Oh, but the one thing that I have to point out is that this all started because her male friend decided to like walk down that same stretch of road, like that same stretch of sidewalk or whatever the hell it was.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, they thought of the worst automatically, which most people would in that situation. Then one of them says, "I can't help but imagine it." And they all disappointed and sad.
I mean, don't you? And I like how rapey they imagined it too. Like that was just like, really? Like, did you need to add that? Like, no, don't.
Well, I mean, it's rape regardless of how we paint it. She's a middle schooler.
Yeah. It is. I mean, yeah, it is, but like they made it like extra
Hentai.
rapey.
Actually, you want to know something disturbing? Go ahead and the viewers too. If you ever want to find out something disturbing about Japanese law, you can look up the laws surrounding statutory rape and how they are actually different for men and women, and they vary depending on age.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Yep, we spent the whole time on Discord when nobody was around just looking this up. It was very very disturbing.
In our personal Discord, we basically not only we play role-playing games on Sundays, but we just shoot the shit all the time. Like yesterday, we basically had a lot of philosophical discussions on tons of shit.
It was pretty interesting. But yeah, back to the topic though. It was. I mean, I get where they're coming from, and I understand why they jumped to that conclusion. But like, I'm mad like Hina didn't jump in at all and was like, "Well, what? He told me worse here." She's like Hina's only reaction to everything was just like, "The fuck is going on?" Which I understand because like, the fuck is going on.
Well, to be fair, there's no real expression coming from Hina in the first place. The only thing that she gets excited about are video games and food, and that's it.
No, but the funniest thing was when Nita walks into the bar and she goes, and then the boys are like, "What the heck? Hina's dad is going in there too?"
Yeah, no, it was just a mess. All around the entire arc was just a mess, and
big mess, big old mess.
The teacher is still convinced that this is a different person.
That is the funny. That's the funniest thing, that it ended on like, "Oh, you boys are just confused. See, this young lady just looks a lot like Hitomi-san. It's not really Hitomi-san."
But with his job on the line, I could imagine that I would probably trick myself too.
But I mean, maybe he's just drunk all the time, so he's just like, "No, I'm probably just, I just probably had a few too many." There's no way that's
everybody has a doppelganger. Apparently, hers works at this bar. I'm gonna accept it because otherwise I have to accept that I've allowed a middle school girl to become a bartender at a bar that I regularly frequent.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's not going to be able to be explained away.
Definitely.
yeah, definitely. All right, I feel like that's pretty much everything that went down in Hinamatsuri. Overall, a good episode. I feel like I definitely got a good laugh out of it as usual.
Yeah, totally. I agree with you there. So let's move on to Comic Girls this week.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I swear, if they don't get together, I'm gonna be upset. Yeah, go ahead, Jordan. You didn't get to talk about your initial thoughts on Comic Girls since you didn't come on the initial episode. So yeah, go ahead.
So as Jeremy and Tony are well aware, I actually cannot stand moe stuff whatsoever. I've never been a big fan of it at all, and it's just not my cup of tea. So when I was told that to be a participant in this Weeb Warrior series, that I would have to watch all the series, I was very apprehensive about. I was actually so apprehensive about one of them that we're not even going to cover it anymore.
That much is true.
Yep.
But I was just like, wow, okay, so I'm going to have to suffer through Comic Girls. Literally within 2 minutes of the first episode, I fell immediately in love with Chaos. Her whole life is a mess. People really just
don't like her.
This girl, I don't even know. They're just on her. Also, she is like she is a old man at heart. When she I saw her manga, and it was about the friend spilling cream on her shirt and saying, "Thank you, God." You can't do this.
You can't thank, and like when her friends were critiquing, it's like, you can't thank God out loud like that. What are you? What are you doing?
I've come to enjoy the rest of the cast as well. They are pretty hilarious, and there's actually substance to the show, which I wasn't anticipating when I first clicked it. My girlfriend in real life is an artist. Hey, babe. And she deals with a lot of the sort of anxiety and comparison issues that Chaos undergoes. And it's just interesting to sort of look into the mind of these young women, or at least the depiction of these young women and their artistic experiences and what have you.
Yeah, see, and that's the whole reason I was trying to sell you on this in the first place is the whole reason I definitely thought you would connect to this show in particular, despite not being a fan of Moe like Tony and myself are, is that this show definitely resonates with people of a creative mind, and as writers, we might not have that same kind of skill set as an artist per se, but we know what it's like to have anxiety over our work being finished and what people think of our work and such, and so like it's a very relatable show, and that's what I like about it. And since we all read manga, we can also connect the different tropes and appreciate a lot of the meta jokes and stuff that they throw out with the different characters. Now, who is your favorite comic girl, Jordan? That is the important question.
It's got to be Chaos, sadly.
Chaos-chan? Okay, Chaos-chan. I get you. See,
but
still
only
thinking...
in the strictly appreciative sense of her character and nothing else, because it is like a small child in the body of a small child, and even if I were to accept that she's a high schooler, I am an adult male despite appearances. No. Just no.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It's the exact reason why I don't like Moe stuff.
No, but personally for me, and we talked about this in episode 1 as well. Tony also agrees with me. My favorite comic girl out of the cast is who I refer to as Shoujo Girl, aka Koyomi-chan. She's great. I love her, and I'm always a sucker for a good well done coming out story. And yes, it's super obvious she's a lesbian and she's into Shonen Girl, but I'm really interested to see if that arc comes through, and I'm gonna be real upset if she doesn't at least get a confession out by the end.
Well, how do I put it? So I'm not really sure what sort of angle they're trying to take with Koyomi, as far as if she is a lesbian or bi-curious, or maybe she just finds Tsubasa to be like
boyish
pleasing in some way, or just looks up to them. So she could be conflating admiration and romantic feelings. I'm not totally sure. Either way you slice it, I find their entire dynamic to be wonderful to watch. So it doesn't matter to me. Obvious lesbian is obvious.
Definitely.
What I felt was that should have been the title of this latest episode. But Tony, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. Go ahead, Tony. Give your thoughts on the show, in case the people haven't seen episode 1 yet.
That's one thing about since Jay and I went on this diatribe about the concept of best girl, we expressly discussed it as what we admire in the character, and I think that Koyomi's relationship with Tsubasa, aka Shonen Girl, is kind of like in that same vein, but it could be the fact that she would be an obvious lesbian, but we cannot deny the fact that there is a sense of admiration because of the
definitely there's that admiration, infatuation aspect, but I definitely get a very romantic vibe.
Totally, because this girl, being so energetic and happy, especially seen in this episode, how she wants to have the other girls enjoy themselves when they're at the beach. And the more I think about it, it's her natural magnetism to attract people is what makes her a great shoujo manga artist and creator. But
that's definitely true.
Like she always mentions, is that her male characters look god awful. And with Tsubasa, she has the perfect template for her male characters, even though Tsubasa is a woman.
Yep. And I also I don't know, maybe I like Koyomi a lot because she reminds me a lot of myself. Because I mean, personally, and Jordan's known me almost my entire life. Jordan knows I make friends with pretty much everybody.
I thought you were about to tell me you were gay on the live air. I was like, well, then this is surprising. I have not known this actually. Okay.
No. That is not what I was going to say. I was just gonna. my girlfriend would be very disappointed. I would be getting a lot of I would be getting an angry phone call right about now.
Hey man, I'm not here to judge your journey.
Look, no. But yeah, what I was actually saying, like, you've known me since we were kids. I always make friends with everybody. Like I always tend to be the person people always approach and like make friends with. All the time, even if my friends don't want to hang out with certain people, I'll just be like, "Hey, you guys seem cool. Let's go over here." And like,
this is fair. It's true.
And Jordan even knows, like, I'll go in the wrong direction when we're going places because I will follow people instead of the actual direction.
Yes, all the time. and it's terrible because you wouldn't think that he'd be able to get as far as he does until you're not actually paying attention, and you're like, what the
Yeah, we got lost in this mall in Richmond one time.
Yo, stop. We were not lost. You were lost and I found you. There's a difference. Which is terrible,
okay, but yeah.
Considering that you walk at like a snail's pace at any other given moment, but the second I take my eyes off you, you fucking disappeared into the ether. I'm just like, did you catch an elevator? Like, what the fuck is this?
But yeah, no, so like, yeah, that's the whole point I was trying to come across. Like, I guess that's why I really relate to Koyomi as a character, as a person. I mean, I've never been the biggest of shoujo fans. I've read a few shoujo manga here and there, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite genre. I would say I'm more into shonen and seinen stuff, with like the occasional shoujo here and there. I'm not gonna lie, I liked Orin High School Host Club in middle school, like everybody else.
Fair.
It's still enjoyable to this day, I will say.
But yeah, no. We also should talk about episode 4, that's focused on Hentai Girl.
Yeah, and her like accepting the fact that Rookie, this girl.
I love Hentai Girl because she is the most hilarious of them all. The jokes surrounding Hentai Girl are so funny because for those of you guys who aren't aware of the show, Ruki, who we will refer to as Hentai Girl, is obviously a hentai mangaka, and her whole thing is she feels so embarrassed because not only do the girls at school think she's a prostitute, but people also just kind of assume she's very unapproachable. And her original dream was to draw like child's manga with cute bunnies and things like that. But then when she submitted her drawings to her editor, she's like, "Wow, you do really good, mature details. Are you sure you don't want to do hentai? I feel like you would sell a lot more if you do hentai. Let's just make you do hentai."
Yeah, but apparently, like her editors, like, don't quote me on this because I'm just gonna paraphrase here. She's basically saying, "God damn, these women are thick. Draw hentai, god damn it."
And also, her pen name is the funniest of them all. Her pen name is literally Big Boob Hime, or Big Boob Princess, and she is flat as a board. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing she is self-conscious about. That is that plays into a factor in episode 4, and it is just hilarious.
When you have like her screaming fans at the end of the episode, which is a very emotional moment for her, and I got a little teary.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. As someone again who aspires to be a writer, and in particular a comic writer, that's one of my biggest dreams is to just have a panel or just a stand at a convention and people actually showing up, like seeing actual people show up for your work. That's just something that that's an unparalleled feeling, and I loved seeing kind of the genuine reaction from her.
Oh yeah, and it was sweet. And when you have like these women saying like "One-sama" or like
One-sama.
My husband and I read your manga. It's fucking great. Which is weird as shit to hear someone say that. Like,
right?
A grown woman. But still, you don't hear that every day, but it's entertaining to say the least. And
also, I loved the magical makeup transformation that the matron of the house helped her undergo. to help her feel more confident in herself.
That is true, and let's talk more about that woman. The matron of the dorm, that is one sly woman.
Yeah, she has a lot more personality than I expected from the first couple episodes, because like especially in the episode where where all of them are spying on the date between Tsubasa and Koyome.
Episode 5, after Koyome and Beach. And
yeah, I thought that was great. I thought like she's like rooting for them, and she's like, "Did it happen? Did she actually confess?" And I was like, "Oh, nothing happened." But there's development. There's definitely development.
Yeah, there's some development there, and then we meet Chaos-chan's editor at that same amusement park.
Yeah.
Oh, that relationship with her editor.
Oh my God! Yes,
absolutely dead. When she was every time she reviews one of Chaos-chan's storyboards, I die.
Yeah, and she's just like Chaos Sensei, please take note of your friend's professional behavior and emulate them. And I'm just like, well, dang, you don't gotta throw Chaos under the bus like that.
Yeah,
like, jeez,
all sorts of shade thrown at poor little Chaos-chan. And then like when we first see her in the amusement park in her cosplay, she says, "This is one of my best looks." She's really proud of it.
Yep. And then of course we see the joke about the fan who found out who Tsubasa really is and tried to approach her, and Tsubasa was like, "How'd you know? What method did you use? That was supposed to be a secret."
Oh, no, I think that was just a regular old confession that didn't go well.
Yeah. And she was like, "Who are you working for?" And then the same girl shows up cosplaying as Tsubasa's main character, and she runs.
Yeah, actually, I think it's their teacher at school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I noticed because.
Oh, it was the teacher? Really?
If you look at the interaction that the teacher has with the girls in the first couple of episodes, you can kind of tell that she has like something up her sleeve. And then noticing that she does cosplay would be kind of an embarrassing thing for her to do, if you really think about it. And she doesn't want to admit that she does cosplay. So that's why she would just run off.
Oh, yeah, no. I didn't even recognize it was the teacher. Wow, I thought it was the girl from the confession flashback.
No, you would tell.
I'm surprised you dedicated the girl to the confession from the confession flashback to memory. I honestly couldn't tell you anything beyond that it was a female.
Because I thought it was funny. I mean, I noticed it because I thought it was funny.
It was the girl had short hair. Like,
okay. Sure. But yeah, overall, again, this was a fun episode. I thought, like I said, I really enjoyed the relationship between Sue and Koyome. I thought it was great. I also really like. Talking about the previous episode, the relationship or the episode with like the beach and stuff, where Koyome and Hentai Girl
mixed with with the amusement park. Episode 4 was really focused on Ruki's panel and just her trying to come to grips with like.
Yeah, but what I was saying is I also like the it was because we're technically covering 2 episodes. I also like the part, I don't remember which particular episode it was, but I like the part where Chaos and Tsubasa are bonding while Ruki and Koyome are out shopping, and they're over here just playing video games and eating ramen. I'm like, this is what I do. This is what I used to do with my friends.
Oh yeah,
I wonder. But they got the good Japanese ramen. That was episode 5? Okay.
Yeah, in the very beginning.
Mm-hmm. They're just living that otaku life, man. Just sitting out in the dark, hoods up and everything, playing video games, eating.
That's more like a hikikomori life, but yeah.
Yeah, hikikomori life.
It's like a facultative hikikomori, I suppose.
Yeah, it's sure.
But also going back to episode 4 a little bit, we didn't talk about this that much, but one of the funniest jokes of the series so far is just the girls' reactions to Ruki's panels, and Cass trying to color, and she couldn't do it. She couldn't do it even in the slide. She goes, no, Chaos, here, color this bunny. No, I'm going to do it. I can do it. And she just passed out.
Yeah, I about died, too.
Oh, my God. That was fantastic. I could not handle it.
All right. So, since we're moving on to the big gun shows, what should we talk about? We have Megalobox, we have High School DxD Hero, and we have Tokyo Ghoul Re.
Well, let's save. Well, I'll say we'll do. I think we should do. The last two we should do are My Hero and then Megalobox is last, since best for last and all that. So I think we should go DxD, then let Jordan talk about Tokyo Ghoul, or let Jordan talk about Tokyo Ghoul, and then we can jump into the two biggest ones.
And then after that, we'll go into our discussion piece, the Otaku Soapbox. All right, so to DxD then. So, like we've been doing, Jordan, what did you think of this particular season of High School DxD so far?
So thus far, I've really liked this season of High School DxD. I'm really excited that it's been getting as many seasons as it did. When I first watched the very first season, way back in what was that?
It was
2012, Lord.
It was I was gonna say it's 2012 or 2011. I remember it was it was like towards the tail end of high school. I remember that for sure.
It has been a minute. I was like, wow, they're never gonna do a new one of that, and then here we are.
No, but here's my thing. Here's my thing though. Like, I feel like High School DxD has perfected the ecchi harem like fantasy, so much so that like DxD spawns so many different clones trying to capture the same vibe, but they could never get the same kind of balance that DxD does.
Yeah, I've seen every single harem anime that you're referring to.
So have I.
And I can agree. They just have a good formula, which is weird considering the fact that the characterization in the first season was sort of weak. It was hilarious, but they weren't very strong characters.
It's really interesting when you think about it, because DxD is one of those rare ecchi shows where it's funny, but at the same time, when it has serious episodes, you're not thrown off by it. Like, you actually like the serious episodes as much as you like the funny episodes.
And it's that perfect balance between the two different extremes. And I think
plus if you like titties, like, this is just the show.
Oh yeah. Yeah, even though there's like one like OVA series that if you want to see titties the show, look up Aiken. I suggest you don't.
You want to see titties.
I would not suggest that, but I guess if you are obsessed with absurdly large breasts, Aiken is definitely the OVA to watch.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
But yeah, High School DxD Hero has been great thus far. I'm really looking forward to the future episodes. I really like how, as Jeremy said, that they've taken that when you see these serious moments, they don't throw you off, but the entire series has taken on a much more serious undertone as the gang sort of prepares themselves for the. Well, I'm not familiar with the manga, so I don't know exactly what arc we're in. But
it's the contest. It's like, the other demon families contesting for Ries's family's title. I don't remember what exactly it's called, but yeah, it's that.
I know for a fact that we're gonna see a rating game between Cyborg and Ries.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's something interesting. Something that I also really like about DxD that separates it from other harem ecchi comedies is that it built in the first few seasons it built a lot of interesting lore. And this season is where that lore is really paying off, and that's what I really like about it, because you get a lot more of the underworld and a lot more of the Grimry family and the hierarchy and how everything works. And thanks to Jordan accidentally looking up stuff on the wiki, we now are aware of a spoiler that we're not going to tell anime only.
To be fair, since I am a huge fan of this series, I actually looked up that sort of information like years ago myself. so I kind of knew what I was going to get myself into if they were to adapt further into the series. So
yeah, but just for you and the sake of anime onlys, we won't say anything, but be prepared because shit's about to get real.
Oh, definitely.
Oh yeah, no, I from what I've seen, it's definitely going to be pretty intense, especially if you watch the opening rather closely, which if you're like me, you never do. You see them tease some pretty interesting things that are going to come up about the Welsh Dragon and Issei as the Red Dragon Emperor fairly soon, from what I gather, especially with the hero faction of the Chaos Brigade steadily moving in.
Now I'm not entirely sure. I didn't look this up when we first started watching. Is this going to be a 24 or is this going to be a 12 or is this going to be like one of those 2-core seasons where it's not technically 24 altogether, or if it's 12 and 12?
It's 13.
It's just 13?
All right.
Okay.
Set up for 13.
Here's my question, because a lot of the seasons after some series go to 12 or 13 anyway, since they're just adding on to the story proper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's actually I have no evidence of this, but I would argue that the new model for recurring series is that it's much better to have many seasons of an anime than to try to keep a 50-episode season going.
Yeah, because that helps you with the budget, like dispersing the budget and all that, and making sure everything is consistent in terms of animation. Otherwise, you get what happens to Toei with the One Piece anime. And as much as I love the manga, man, that anime, oof.
It'll take you decades to finish.
I suppose it's only a 700.
835 episode anime.
Yeah, 835. That's 20 minutes per episode if you cut out openings and closings.
Oh, sweet Jesus!
But yeah, no. If you want, if we want to have a One Piece episode, I got a friend for that one.
It's just 11 days of continuous content. You can do that.
Jobs.
And it's all on Crunchyroll and Verve. So there you go. Shameless. You got it. You gotta just invest in some Depends, and you can do it.
Well,
just 11 days of straight content. You got it.
Yeah, unfortunately, some of us have jobs, so we can't do that.
I would never watch it. We're not here to talk about One Piece or.
But anyway,
High School DxD Hero.
You know what I've
heard so far? Really interested in seeing things continue. Issei is hilarious. It's really weird to see sort of the harem dynamic when the members of the harem are aware of the main protagonist's feelings towards one of the others. Because it's not as if any of them are laboring under the delusion that Issei doesn't have feelings for Rios. He's made it pretty plainly clear, but they still vie for his affections, and I don't know. It's different, I suppose.
It's weird that still works, because in any other series that would you would kind of question it and be like, well, why don't you just go for somebody else when he's clearly not going to choose you? You know what I mean?
But ultimately, he does end up caring for them. One bit of it. I found out that.
Also, I don't think any of them particularly care to be chosen. Zenobia just wants that baby juice. She's not interested too much.
Sweet baby Jesus she gets.
Oh, man.
I mean, information that I've heard is that he basically impregnates everybody in the harem, and the last kid that he has is with Rios.
Well, spoilers, but
deep
okay.
Spoilers, Tony. Deep spoilers. Even I don't know this.
I'm saying, right? I did not know this. I did not need to know that.
But it was a one-shot story, so that even matters.
It kind of does, though. He's got a whole brood of kids. But anyway.
But it was a time travel story, and people hate time travel stories.
Okay, I'll give you that one. Fuck time travel.
But anyway,
moving on, though.
One of the things that I find amusing in particular about the episodes that we're going to be talking about is Issei goes into his mind to see the other Red Dragon Emperors. And the one that shows up, of course, has to be this big-breasted woman.
Of course, because it's Issei. I mean, they
And,
don't call it high school double D for nothing.
And well, that's true. But the one thing that I will point out that she mentions that she is one of the most powerful wielders of the Red Dragon's power out of the women, and then the most powerful of the men is just like hiding out somewhere, and all of that is to make sure that he unlocks Issei unlocks his own potential, which apparently just ran off and possesses people to just compel them to grab breasts all the time. Yeah.
So it was just basic. It was just basically, Issei. It's just basically Issei's personality on steroids.
No. Here's what, if you actually looked into it, you notice that his potential and growth, the thing that was going to make him more powerful, just faded. He has to go find it, and you hear people being called gropers and molesters. These people shouting "Opie" at the top of their lungs, wanting to grab Opie. And that's all Issei's potential right there. He's like, oh, that's weird.
So he's a potential sexual assaulter. Okay, cool.
I mean, yes, but yeah, I mean, pretty much just. And the only thing saving Issei from a jail sentence is the consent of the harem around him.
Definitely.
Yep.
And, well, they all want it. That's for damn sure.
Consent matters, people. Take that away from this anime. You can't just go around grabbing titties unless they are titties that want to be grabbed.
And then, I think the funniest thing about Issei's potential being unlocked in that way, when you first see it, it's not Issei doing anything perverted. It's his two buddies. One deciding to be compelled by this potential to just grab onto the chest of his other. And it's surreal. It was weird. I didn't appreciate that. I didn't want to see that.
He wasn't doing it for you. He was doing it for the love of Opie.
No. But
I feel like that should be a t-shirt.
Oh, there is an Opie shirt there. It exists. People wear it. But anyway, then when we're getting more into the Kyoto arc, is kind of exploring Japanese yokai, and I find that part very fascinating. How in the world of DxD, I just like the structure of how the yokai work, and their whole mission is to save the yokai princess from her imprisonment because she was kidnapped. And
so we shouldn't touch too much on this, Tony, because we're just getting into the arc. And thus far, the only thing that we know is that the priestess has been taken. Priestess or princess?
Princess. I want to say princess.
Yeah. The princess has been taken, and we believe that it's the Chaos Brigade hero faction that has done so, who have just appeared on the bridge after causing some sort of temporal dimensional shift.
That much true, yeah. We actually got to see one of the individuals, the wielder of the Holy Spear of Destiny.
I did not know it was the Holy Spear of Destiny, but okay.
Yeah, it's the Spear of Longinus, or however the fuck you pronounce it.
I thought you just said vaginas. I was like, what?
I heard the same thing, Jeremy. I was just going to let it go. I was just like, the Holy Spirit. Yep.
The spear that pierced the side of Christ. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I know what you said, but what came out of your mouth? So
Spear of Longinus.
Longinus.
I don't give a fuck.
Okay, I'm just saying, if you get comments saying you said spear of vaginas, just know that's what everybody in the room heard.
I'm half expecting this to happen because apparently I mumble like a motherfucker.
I guess, hey, enunciation is important. But yeah, I don't really have any more of the comments.
I mean,
it's pretty straightforward.
It hasn't really been plot heavy yet, so I feel like that's all we can really say.
I mean, it's a difference where plot heavy, but it's not actual plot, but plot.
It's top heavy, not plot heavy.
Oh yeah.
Like all these bitches got lower back problems. Like
I can't with y'all. I absolutely cannot.
But anyway,
Naku, she doesn't have lower back problems, just her sister.
True.
It's true.
All right.
She doesn't have lower back.
But yeah, moving on. Now we get to the bigger stuff. And Jordan, you take over for this one because we are talking about Tokyo Ghoul Re. I have not actually watched the anime. I can only comment on the manga, which I have just caught up on as of yesterday.
All right, awesome. So to my understanding, Tokyo Ghoul Re has not been discussed as of yet. So I'm going to go ahead and open up with an introduction. Studio Parrot, the same people that made Yu Yu Hakusho, all Naruto and Boruto, Bleach, and Black Clover are responsible for this adaptation, as well as the Tokyo Ghoul Route A adaptation, which so many people hate, as well as the movies Pinto and Jack. We're currently on episode 5 of 12, and just to give people sort of a spoiler-free introduction, we find that we are following a ghoul investigator and leader of the Quink Squad, a group of half ghouls developed by CCG.
Yeah, it was developed by CCG.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I get them in CCP for EVE Online and OCP from RoboCop mixed up a lot.
yeah, it's all good.
CCG, a group of half ghouls that work for CCG to control the ghouls of War 13. And his name is Hayase
Sasuke Heist. Sasuke Heist.
Yeah. Moving into the spoiler content, we are currently in what is known as the auction arc, where it has already been revealed that Sasuke is actually Kaneki, who has lost his memories after suffering a debilitating brain injury fighting Arima, and has been living his life as a ghoul inspector, as the leader of this head of this special squad.
Mm-hmm.
The squad itself is composed of 4 primary half ghouls outside of Hayase himself.
Yep.
Jinshi, Shirazu.
Yes. Yeah, Shirizu.
Sayako, Urie, and Toru. What is there to say about all of them? So, Shirazu?
I want to say Shirizu. Yeah, I want to say Shirizu. Yeah.
We're gonna call him Shirizu. He's rather annoying and simple-minded, but he has a Ukaku Kaguna that is pretty unique. It's a centrally located, essentially you could imagine almost like a horn or a small tendril that allows him to launch these missiles, which in the adaptation have been stylized almost exactly like missiles and less of, and that's actually something I can speak on in a little bit. Sayako is, in my opinion, best girl, and she can do no wrong. She is a total mess. She is a proverbial hikikomori who likes to sleep and play video games rather than do her job. She has not been demonstrated using her Kaguna, but from the manga, we know that it is a Baikaku type, which is just, and for her, it is a massive sledgehammer-like tail.
Yep.
Sweet.
So that'll be beautiful to watch her just beat people to death. Urie is the now ex-leader of the Queen Squad, having been demoted for endangering his teammates in the pursuit of what's the word I'm looking for? Fame, notoriety.
Yeah, he's just a glory hound, basically. That's his whole kind of character arc.
Like he has his motivation for chasing glory is to live up to his dead father, like to surpass him, so that he wouldn't feel like he's missing out on something. I mean, I watched the 5 episodes for sure, but that's something that I'm kind of getting as his primary motivation is because his father died and people didn't save him.
Yeah, and which is something that we can speak on more, but I still don't like him. Also, his Kaguna is a Kokaku, which is pretty much, if you've been watching any of the Tokyo Ghoul series, is rather the most generic form that you could possibly have. And his is equally generic, being a simple arm blade with a strange shoulder cap modification. He's also so obsessed with glory and power that he is the only one that has advanced his Kaguna to the next level through surgery. And I'm not totally sure that he can control it at this point, or ever will be, honestly. And then
he's also very opportunistic, which is another unlikable trait for him.
Yeah, and it's not opportunistic in the sense that he maximizes opportunities for the betterment of his team, but for his own advancement. So he will intentionally endanger people if he feels as though it will advance him. Which is exactly what he did with Toru in one of the more recent episodes, when he essentially, instead of escorting her out, well, not her, I'm sorry. We'll talk about that in a second, too.
Okay.
Escorting him out of the auction house, led him deeper into the facility so that they could hunt down the escaped auctioneer ghouls. Toru himself bothers me because they are just perpetually useless at this moment, having no ability whatsoever to even activate or use their Kaguna, and I need them to shape up rather quickly.
Yep. And also in this arc, we find out about Juzo's backstory a bit with like Big Madam and stuff like that.
Yeah, so Big Madam's is just a total mess.
Which, fun fact, in the original adaptation of Tokyo Ghoul, they skipped over the actual scene, the scene in the manga that showed Big Madam in the first place. So, like, any anime onlys that are confused of like, how come they're acting like Big Madam was already there when she clearly wasn't. She wasn't, but she was in the original draft for the series, but it was changed at the last minute.
Yeah, so she's there. She seems to be a collector of people, more or less, people that she finds interesting and ultimately tasty in some regard. She's abusive, she's insane, and she has a Baikaku Kaguna, which is a massive, almost worm-like tail that has incredible reach, speed, and strength, and she used it to beat the ever-loving shit out of Urie, and I'm so glad for it.
Oh man, that was definitely satisfying to watch when I got around to it, because like I remember being so happy seeing him get what he deserved in the manga, but watching it actually in motion was great.
But moving past Big Madam for a moment, let's talk about Nutcracker.
Oh my.
Ooh, buddy. Now that is so for those that don't know, she is called Nutcracker because she cracks nuts, and I'm not talking about the lagoon kind. She destroys men's testicles and then drinks the fluids from them, and that is how she subsists herself. I don't really know what to do about that. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole, and I sure wouldn't fight her if she's out here cracking nuts. Importantly, though, she has a hybrid Kaguna, or at least she has 2 separate Kaguna, which makes her the second demonstrated ghoul to possess such a thing. Well, third demonstrated ghoul to possess such a thing. Second.
Yeah, because there's Hina, or was it? No, what's the little girl's name? She has a hybrid, right?
She does.
The little girl.
I'm trying to remember her name because I don't know it.
Yeah. Okay, but you know who I'm talking about. The one whose like mother was killed in the original Tokyo Ghoul.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
But Nutcracker, that shit's rough to watch. Yeah,
that was horrifying.
Yeah, so that wasn't terrible. But she did show something interesting in the fact that she was able to detach her Kaguna, which has not been demonstrated in the anime as of yet, and shows the sort of the expansion or utility of the Kaguna as you even start to move into effectively what could be argued as power creep. And it is
pretty
Hinami.
much. Oh, Hinami. Okay.
Yes. Hinami is the only other ghoul, or at least at time, to possess the dual Kaguna, having inherited both a Kokaku and Bikaku style Kaguna from her. I'm sorry, a Kokaku and a Rinkaku from her parents.
But yeah, overall, I think Ri is also a much better start. Personally, I'm one of the many that was not a fan of Route A because they deviated pretty heavily, and they got rid of some of the best scenes from the manga. I'm still mad there's no 103 bones. That was like the best fucking scene in original Tokyo Ghoul, but it's whatever. I'm gonna stop being bitter. Not really though.
I was about to say, you stopping being bitter? I don't believe it.
But yeah, anything else you want to say about Tokyo Ghoul, or is that about it for this crop of episodes?
So as far as the crop of episodes goes, it's been pretty interesting building up things. Obviously, Hayase is dealing with sort of his repressed memories of Kaneki, and he taps into them, or at least he tapped into them back in the second episode when fighting Torso, who is Nishiomiya, who's actually Nishiomiya. And seems to possess all the power that he previously had, but cannot maintain his sanity after he taps into that power, because he's effectively living a lie right now.
I also really enjoy. I enjoyed it both in the manga and in the anime, but I also really enjoy kind of the spiral and fall of Tsukiyama. Shu, the purple-haired gay dude that's like obsessed with Kaneki's dick.
Not gay, and he smelled his dick recently and wasn't obsessed with it. So I'll give him a pass on that a little bit, I suppose.
Let's be real. The only reason he didn't pass out because he could tell that wasn't Kaneki. That wasn't his Kaneki-kun.
I guess we will see. I already know how he gets redeemed, but he's going through some stuff right now. And this does actually touch on something important as far as ghoul physiology, as far as within the lore. Within the anime, we have not seen Shu yet, so I will not talk about the actual direct consequences of his newly emancipated form. But the Kaguna is a predatory organ that is designed to ensure the ghoul's survival. And we sort of see that take on a new dimension when the ghoul themselves is starving. Jeremy, having read the manga, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. But for the anime only watchers, let's keep that under wraps.
Yeah.
We want to drop a massive spoiler like the end harem of a series.
Just saying. But yeah, no, just keep your eyes peeled for Shu. He has a very interesting arc for this season. And given that we found out that it was announced recently that Tokyo Ghoul will have 2 sets of 12 instead of just 1 set of 12. I said 1 sets, but 1 set of 12. That means we'll get a lot more, and they're not going to just blow through chapters like I had originally assumed. So
yeah,
I'm
so
glad.
We're gonna have nice pacing. We might get pretty decently far into the series, and I'm looking forward to some pretty interesting stuff developing in the next few weeks. But given that beyond that, there's not really a whole lot to talk about. There haven't been any any major fights or any really major developments. Although it looks like we have the one-eyed owl back. Ito, not Kaneki, obviously. And manga readers, you already know that there's about to be a whole nother twist there, as far as the one-eyed owl is concerned. But let's again avoid that. But keep your eye out on
Eto is real interesting. Let's just watch her.
Eto and Associates, definitely a twist that you wouldn't see coming. But
yep, for sure. Oh,
so yeah, my initial impression, if you're not watching it, watch it. Parrot has been doing a good job of adapting the animation style. Is pretty clean. The one thing that I will critique it for is that they've removed a lot of the visceral nature surrounding the Kagana by coloring them other different hues and shades as to distinguish them between characters. Stylistic choice, I don't agree with it. Jeremy, anything else?
I mean, yeah. As far as like the color change go, I feel like that's just kind of a product of the sensor. I feel like if you watch the Blu-rays, they'll be in the original colors. But yeah, I think that was more of a censorship type of thing. But I agree with you. I don't really like that the change for the color for the different Kaguya and Kakuja for the series. But yeah, no, I guess now we can jump into My Hero Academia. So this is a series that both Jordan and I are also manga readers of, and I've been looking forward to this arc ever since they started setting this up. After the sports festival, I kept telling people like, "You ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till you see this. It's coming up," and we're getting small pieces of what's coming up. And it's getting real good. So first, let's talk about the two major fights that have happened in this crop of episodes. First off, let us talk about Deku versus Muscular and the all for one 1,000,000% Detroit Delaware smash. Oh my, that was satisfying. What was your opinion on that fight, Jordan? Going into it.
Right out the back, oh my God, what the absolute madness, fucking insanity. This is shown in anime right here. Just the quintessential core. I now understand exactly why Boku no Hero Academia will be sitting forever at the top with the greats, because that was just an impactful and just great scene watching him fight Muscular, and that last attack, the all for 1,000,000 Detroit Delaware smash, which is a mouthful to say, was just amazing. Also, Muscular himself is just such a interesting villain with his power to literally just grow muscle fibers so dense that they just grow outside of his body.
Yeah, so he's essentially just the colossal titan, is how I explained it to people. Because if you read Attack on Titan, that's essentially just what the colossal titan is. And one thing that I've always liked about My Hero Academia as a series is how it approaches ideology of various heroes, and Muscular's ideology is very interesting because he talks about and I had a slight problem with this in terms of storytelling, that coincidentally he just so happens to run into the kid of the people who he killed that fucked up his eye or whatever. I was like, story convenience, but okay, I'll accept that. But I do like what came out of that with him saying like, I'm not even mad. I don't hold a grudge against your parents. They felt they wanted to save people, and I just wanted to kill. Apparently, they didn't want to save people enough, so I killed them.
Apparently, they didn't want to save themselves. That is effectively what he was saying.
Yeah.
So, for the sake of storytelling, while I normally would agree with you, Boku no Hero Academia has a very unique setup because all of the heroes within Japan are part of the same organization. And any professional hero is inevitably going to end up being trained by essentially at UA. That is the premier academy in Japan, at least, for the heroes to be trained at.
Mm-hmm.
So the child of dead heroes having family members who are also heroes doesn't seem too far-fetched. And seeing I guess the biggest jump was that they so happen to be the ones responsible for
Yeah, no, see that's not the jump in logic that I was talking about. But, like my whole thing is like it just so happens that like that villain in particular happened to be in that exact same spot at that exact time where the child of the people who severely injured him was there,
fair.
and Deku came in to save, and Deku also conveniently got his cell phone broken on entry, so he couldn't call for backup.
Yeah, I mean, it is still a shonen anime. It's not a
Oh
deeply
yeah, no,
rich story.
I'm not expecting a lot of nuance, and the nuance that My Hero does give us is substantial enough compared to various other shonen to begin with. So I'm down.
Naruto.
I was gonna say Black Clover, but yeah, Naruto as well.
I mean, a lot of them are guilty of a lot of things.
But yeah. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, that fight was very solid.
Before you continue on any further here, I like to mention
Yeah.
we have a viewer.
Oh, cool.
Actually, a buddy of mine that lives here in Oregon. It's my buddy Jeffrey, and he's been sending me messages on Discord saying that Sue is the best girl of My Hero Academia.
Look, Sue is definitely the most practical. She gets shit done. I will not argue for or against Sue. I don't have a best girl choice. Well, actually, no, I lied. I do have a best girl choice for My Hero Academia: Yoyurazu or Momo. Yoyurazu. I can never say her name correctly, but Momo. Everybody calls her Momo. So yeah, Momo is the best girl in my opinion. I really enjoy her confidence issues arc, and I also just like the fact that she legit has to like eat a shit ton to build up like the fats and lipids in her body so she can create more stuff. When she eventually masters her quirk, she is going to be super broken, and it's going to be great.
Oh jeez.
I mean, it should be great. We'll see if it's great. But also Uraraka, hands down, 100%. And the only reason it's her, it has nothing to do with her personality, but she put in work against Bakugo.
Okay, I'll give you that.
She took a quirk that had no practical value to make shit float, and she was beating that ass. Bakugo's also like a tactical genius, so we gotta give her credit where credit is due. But she was not here for the bullshit.
No, yeah, I definitely will agree with you there. Uraraka definitely gets some points. I have a hard time deciding best girl for My Hero, but
Momo got bodied by a shadow.
Look, yo, Tokoyomi. We'll talk. Actually, we'll talk about Tokoyomi towards the end of this My Hero discussion, because Tokoyomi is gonna have his big moment next. But Tokoyomi is not one to be downplayed. Okay, Tokoyomi.
Broad daylight, middle of the day, and she has the ability of creation. Like, you can't stop. What? You could have made a flashlight and hurt this fool.
Okay.
Didn't really think that through.
Fair enough. I'll concede to that one. But anyway, moving on.
Shield. Okay, that's a good first move. Make a spotlight next. Know his weakness. Everyone knows his weakness.
Anyway, moving back onto the topic though, let's go.
Also, I'm not moving on past this before I say this out loud for let it to be recorded under all things. I did not agree with the stylistic choices made by the design team to change Momo's hero costume from what they originally proposed to what she has currently. The boob window is so superfluous because they made an argument about maximizing skin surface to be pulled out. But I've seen the character art where there's no boob window and she still has the same surface area.
Yeah, I mean, because she mostly pulls stuff from her midriff anyway, and her midriff is always exposed. So, like, it's not like she's constantly reaching into her chest. If that was what they were doing, fine, I would accept that. I get, that makes it more practical. But she's literally usually just pulling stuff from her stomach midriff area. So, like, I feel like the boob
The
window is
costume
unnecessary.
had, like, her leg, arm, back, and midriff exposed, about the boob window. And I was just like, I don't know where else she would need to pull things. Like, she gonna start like pulling things directly out of her nip? Stop.
I mean, at least they're not going the extra step and having her literally pull shit out of her ass.
Yet.
True.
I mean, they might go even deeper after this conversation gets aired. It's just like, no asses chaps run it.
No, I think
completely ignore that this is a 16-year-old girl. Run it.
I think they're onto something here. People talked about Naruto having ass pull powers, and they seem to like it. So we're gonna make ass pull powers a thing.
Oh God.
Oh no! Don't do it! Don't do it, Horikoshi. Horikoshi Sensei, if you happen to be watching this broadcast, please do not do it. Don't do it.
But whatever. I'm not the designer.
Moving on. But back to the topic at hand. Yeah. So next, so in the most recent episode, so Deku has just defeated Muscular, and Coach is like, "Are you sure you can carry me around?" He's like, "Nah, don't worry about it, man. My legs work. I got this." He's running on fumes. He's running on adrenaline, just full cow hauling ass across the forest. And he's like, when he finally meets up with Eraser, he's like, Aizawa Sensei, he's just like moving like 1,000 miles a minute, trying to explain everything. He's like, yeah, no, calm down. Okay, breathe. Now tell me what's going on. And then he realizes, oh, this fool is running on adrenaline. He's not gonna last that long. He's like, all right, I need you to relay this message. Tell everybody you have permission from me directly to use your quirks in self-defense of the villains, which is a nice callback because Aizawa even mentions how Ida, Todoroki, and Deku got in trouble during the Stain arc because they used their quirks they used their quirks with a permit or a license against Stain in that attack. So I like that there's continuity there, and they didn't just break the rules just to break the rules because obviously villains are attacking, so it wouldn't matter. I like that the laws are a constant thing, and it is good consistent world structure there. So I enjoyed that part. So of course Deku relays the message to what's the telepath kitty's name? Is it like it starts with an M, but whatever. We're gonna just say telepath kitty. So he goes and tells Telepath Kitty the message, and Telepath Kitty relays the message, and she specifically says, "Kachan, you're being targeted. Do not engage." And then Bakugo being like, "The only motherfucker that calls me Kachan is Deku. Deku's doing this. Fuck Deku. I ain't listening to shit Deku says. I'ma charge in."
Her name is Chino Sosaki, and her name is Mandalay.
Yeah, there you go.
You weren't anywhere close.
Well, she is a kitty with telepathic powers, so I just said telepath kitty. Anyway, but yeah, so Bakugo obviously gets pissed because he doesn't like people calling him Kachan because Bakugo's Bakugo. And so him and Todoroki are fighting one of the creepiest motherfuckers from the villain Vanguard, in my opinion, Moonfish. Like, that dude, that is terrifying. Like, his whole quirk with like expanded teeth. I don't know, man. It's pretty creepy. I didn't like that look. And he messed up poor Shoji, man. Shoji's now missing one of his hands or arms. And then Shoji ended up having to carry Deku to safety after he just officially passed out. And then that's when we see Tokuyami going out of control because it's pitch black dark and Dark Shadow is now just going nuts. It is going to be intense next episode, seeing Dark Shadow run wild. But on to the second big fight within this crop of episodes. That is, of course, Class B finally getting their shine. Now with Kendo and our boy Tetsu fighting against Mustard.
So I just want to point out, Mustard is actually a pretty interesting character concept that I'm disappointed that he wasn't able to. I mean, obviously, he never had a choice being a fictitious character, but I would have loved to see him try to actually be a hero. His power could have been very useful.
See, and here's the interesting thing about Mustard, and this again speaks back to My Hero and its like its whole take on societal issues. Is Mustard is actually a middle schooler, and his whole reason for becoming a villain is because he failed to get into a proper high school, and so he was rejected for hero training, and so he felt like, oh, they don't want me to become a hero, so then I'm going to become a villain. And also something I found interesting about Mustard in particular is that Mustard is the first villain we've seen in the anime, even in the manga up to this point, that actually carries a gun. No one ever thinks to carry a gun in this series. But if you really think about it, aside from people like Tetsu and Red Riot, with the hardening quirks, literally, as long as you catch them off guard, you could literally shoot Deku in the head, or like Todoroki, Bakugo, Uraraka, Sue.
So, I mean, for one, let's just go ahead and point out something that seems fairly obvious when you really think about it. This is Japan. This is not America. I guarantee you, the Americans don't have superheroes because they get shot too often.
True.
Japan, people don't have guns. They especially don't have handguns. So it's probably just not even in people's mentality to think, oh, get a gun, dust them. Honestly, I'm really shocked that Mustard even had one, because I was like, where the hell did you get this?
Yeah, that's what surprised me, right? Like, even when I was reading the manga, I was like, oh, he has a gun? What is this? I'm like, it's not a laser gun? Oh, it actually has bullets. It's not a laser gun.
Right, like when you pull out a gun in anime, unless it's an anime about guns, go Black Lagoon. It's pretty much the game ender, right? Like, oh shit, wait.
Yeah, no, and he at least was pretty clever with it at first, by shooting Tetsu's mask off and things like that. But also, you could tell that he was being dumb because he was like, oh, you're bulletproof, but I'm gonna shoot you anyway. Like, he actually says out loud, oh, you're bulletproof, but that's only gonna last for some amount of time. So I'm gonna empty a whole clip on you, even though there's clearly a girl who is made of just regular ass flesh, like right there, that you can sense in your smoke. But whatever, I'm not here to do your job for you, Mustard.
Yeah, I'm not here to kill the heroes for you.
But yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely gonna be interesting to see the rest of them essentially get just messed up.
Yeah, I enjoyed that, and the thing that's interesting about My Hero Academia that honestly not even American comics do, is that when their heroes get messed up, the damage actually carries over. So without fully spoiling, manga stuff from My Hero Academia, Deku's injuries, those injuries that you see, like those busted ass arms, that's going to be a factor moving forward, and he's going to have to adapt to it. So keep that in mind. That's good. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Also in the recent episode of My Hero Academia, we got to meet Twice, who is one of my favorite villains from the villain action vanguard, because he's essentially, and Horikoshi has said it straight up, because Horikoshi is a huge Marvel fanboy, Marvel and DC fanboy. In fact, Deku is directly based off of Spider-Man, and several of the manga covers are homages to Spider-Man comic covers. Yeah. So like I was saying, Twice is actually based straight up Japanese Deadpool, except his ability is obviously cloning if you watch the episode. But he has the same personality, same look, and he even what I appreciated a lot with like the subtle touch to it is when he has the different responses, he also changes the tone of voice, which mimics Deadpool's, if you've read his comics before, his multicolored speech bubbles with his different voices of his personality / psyche. So it's I like that little touch with Twice as well.
That is a nice touch.
So anything you gonna add there, Jordan? In regards to like Twice or any of the other villains, did you like Dobby? What'd you think about Dobby? I think he's
so
alright.
I love Dobby's design. His power is kind of generic in the sense that I think it just is just fire.
Yeah, blue fire. Yeah, it's just blue fire.
I mean, that's cool or whatever, but what the fuck's going on with his body if his quirk is just fire?
Yep. But anything you want to say with the next episode? What are you looking forward to and things like that?
Well, I have no idea. So there's actually something I wanted to correct you on. I don't read the manga. I have no idea what's coming next.
Oh, you don't read the manga? Okay, so yeah, I'm definitely not gonna say anything.
Yeah, like I know bits and pieces about the future simply because I have a habit of Googling things that I probably shouldn't. So like I know like the penultimate battles and like the big boys coming down the line.
Yeah, and I think
those people.
Yeah, and I think the interesting part about this, and I had a conversation with a friend earlier in the week about it, is the particular arc with Bakugo being targeted by the villains. A lot of people, when these chapters came out, and because from the beginning, My Hero Academia has been compared to Naruto, especially since it came out literally the week after Naruto ended. Like it's been compared to Naruto a lot, everything from Deku to Aizawa being a lot like Kakashi, so on and so forth. But what I'm getting at is the whole Bakugo being targeted by the villains was basically Horikoshi taking the concept of the Sasuke retrieval arc, quote unquote, and being like, no, this is not Naruto. Let me show you why we're different. We're not doing that bullshit. Here you go.
It's just like, let me show you how you really do some shit.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, look forward to that. It's gonna be fun. I'm sorry if I insulted any fellow Naruto fans out there. I do actually like the series, unlike some people.
I mean, I don't. So Kirsten absolutely loves Naruto and the series as a whole, and has actually gotten vehemently upset with me when I critique it in any capacity. But that being said, since she's not here and I can get away with it, I have never been that big of a Naruto fan. The original series was fine for me, and then Shippuden, it was just like we're gonna beat this horse till it stops coughing up money. I thought the entire last arc was just like this is what happens when you let power creep get too far. And now Boruto is shot in both knees. It has no redeeming qualities, in my opinion, and it's just not set up to succeed.
Yeah, I'll go. You know what? I will give you that with Boruto. But now, I'm sorry for dragging it on a bit. Tony, I just wanted to. I just really like talking about like a lot of the intricacies of My Hero Academia.
No, it's totally fine, and we can continue this as like a running segment.
Yeah.
If you guys want to, it's perfectly fine.
All right. Yeah, but yeah, go ahead. Now we can talk. Now we can go into the Otaku soapbox.
We are forgetting one show here.
Oh yeah, fucking yeah, Megalobox. Let's talk about Megalobox.
This show, Jordan, your thoughts on the initial episode?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, obviously, yeah, Jordan, you weren't there to, to jerk off the first episode with us, So
well, I mean, allow me to get some more lube because it deserves to be jerked thoroughly. Oh my god. I fucking love Megalobox. It's like the spiritual successor to Samurai Champloo. I'm sure that Joe is Mugen's like long lost descendant. Everything about the show
I'm
is
telling you right now. I'm telling you right now. If Toonami does not dub this and get Steve Blum to voice Joe, I will be visibly and physically upset.
I will be disappointed and sad.
how Megalobox is not blown up as like the series of this year. I have no idea. If you haven't watched it, literally leave the stream right now. Close out if you're watching it afterwards. I don't care what you're doing at work, at home, at church, having sex with your girlfriend. Go watch Megalobox right now. It is worthy of your time.
Yeah.
The style, the impact, the feel, the story, the characters, the music. I fucking love the music.
Oh my god,
Everything
yes.
is great, and the story is so compelling, especially in the latest episode where we get not only badassery but depth.
We get really good backstory. So So one of the things that I like about Megalobox a lot, and talking about the art style really quick, is the fact that and if you Google it, you find this out. But what they do actually is they film it and they put it in SD, and then they scale it back up. So it still has that gritty, old school '90s feel to it. Which, oh my god, the amount of effort they do just to make it feel the way it does is great. And maybe it's just personal nostalgia because we're all children of the '90s, and the reason we're into anime in the first place is because of the Toonami era of anime. But man, does this look great!
Oh, yeah, I agree with you there. Like. And the episodes that we're focusing in on are episodes 4 and 5.
Yeah, and for the fight with the shark dude, man, Gearless Joe, man, that was so good.
He almost got destroyed by a shark. Samajima, I think was his name.
Yeah, and I like the quicksand imagery. With how Joe was getting nervous and more anxious, and he felt like he was sinking into the ring.
Oh yeah, that's one of the best visual metaphors for like anxiety and fear in something. I thought that was beautiful.
And I play a lot of boxing video games like the Fight Nights and the things like that. So like when he fell to the ground, he was shaking, getting up. I was just like, "Come on, man, you got it!" And like,
I was the same way. I was the same way.
Yeah, and as somebody who is a fan of just the sport of boxing in general, I always loved boxing anime. Like Hajime no Ippo, of course, is a classic, and of course Asta no Joe, which this is based off of, which this is an anniversary, a celebration of I think it's the 50th or 30th anniversary.
It's 50th. It's from the 60s.
Yeah, it's from so it's the 50th anniversary of Asta no Joe, and man, I love boxing anime. It's so like the fact they got boxing anime and robots and like the Mad Max style world, I really dig it. I was really rooting for Joe, and I liked that the kid was pulling his weight, like the street urchin kid that's in his corner. He was able to pull them together. I like the dynamic that they're establishing between Nanbu, Joe, and the kid. It's really fun. And they have their little street family and their headquarters. I thought it was awesome. I just really like the world building, and again the character dynamics is very solid.
No, but like by far, episode 5 is like the pinnacle of like perfect storytelling. Like the show's storytelling is amazing, but by far the raw emotion and just depth that they went into in another boxer's life story, and how that
episode opened was amazing. I thought I was watching an entirely different show.
Yeah, honestly, I was like, am I watching Full Metal Panic? What is this? What's going on?
I'm like, wait, why are we in a war? We're in a war zone now. Are they gonna box? Are they not like?
Oh yeah, that cold opening though. But
I didn't even know if I should say this, but like the new boxer, when we got the full body profile of this dude, I was like, he out here rope-a-doping fools with those? Stop.
Right? Yeah, he's got chicken robo legs.
Oh yeah, like that's what I noticed too. And I mean, well, I hate the fact that I don't take notes for this shit.
And like look, I know some people are gonna be like, why are you making fun of a disabled person? Well, as a disabled person.
Well, I mean, my dude got no legs whatsoever, and he's just not even affected by it. Like,
oh yeah, no, that's
his
very
footwork
inspiring.
is amazing.
Yeah, that is very inspiring. I really respected that. I'm like, this dude is just dancing on him. Just I respect his determination.
Oh yeah, definitely. And when you see clips of this fighter's let's just call him Legless Soldier. Let's go with that.
I was gonna call him Robo Legs, but okay.
Well,
y'all really
he destroys people in the ring. You get to see images of the dudes that he fought before. They're bloody. They're like mashed potatoes.
Also, real quick, can we talk about the fact that we finally got to see one of my favorite staples of sports anime and sports movies in general with Joe, and it is, of course, the fight montage. Who doesn't like a good fight montage?
Yeah, fight montages are great.
Also, the boxer's name is Aragaki.
Aragaki, thank you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. This episode made me feel a lot of things.
Yeah, and I really like his relationship with Nanbu and how like he personally feels betrayed by Nanbu, and he's like, no, I'm gonna destroy your fucking boxer. He's like, what do you mean? No, I'm going to physically destroy your boxer.
Yeah, and
coach.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take his bones and I'm gonna break them.
Oh, that's pretty much what happens. Like, if we want to make a boxing movie comparison, it's like when Rocky decided to take on
Drago.
Yeah, Drago.
No, it's like when why can't I think of his name all of a sudden? Not Rocky.
Apollo Creed.
Apollo?
Yes. When Apollo Creed fought Drago, that's what it's like.
So you're saying Joe's about to die in the ring, is what you're saying?
Joe's already dead on a 9 count.
Yeah,
True.
But to pull like a miracle victory out of
look, man, he's got this. He's got this. I believe in him. Obviously the series is longer. The series ain't gonna end in 6 episodes. There's no way. I refuse to believe it.
Well, you can refuse to believe that part, but I like to believe that he can pull a win out of like this dark situation.
Oh, I definitely think Joe's got it, and I think he's gonna earn the respect of Araki.
Yeah, I think Aragaki, what he's doing, his whole motivation is that he went to war, and he's in that warrior mindset, and you get this with a lot of soldiers, and we all come from, well, those of us who are in this live stream right now, we come from military families.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And we understand that our family members went through a lot of mental strain and have
seen some stuff and some things, and done some stuff and some things.
It's a hard life, man. It's a very
society after those situations, and to kind of see that personified in Aragaki's whole.
Yeah, and see that's the interesting thing about Aragaki, and if you're gonna talk about soldiers and like you were saying about how like soldiers have hard lives, a lot of the reasons why especially during the Iraq War period, many soldiers signed up for multiple tours in Afghanistan is because when they came back, they didn't feel alive unless their lives were in danger. They felt kind of just empty. And that's kind of what you see from Aragaki his new battlefield is the ring.
Yeah, and that's what I find interesting because boxing before he went to war was the one thing that he did, and then when he actually went into war, he had all of that happen with him, losing his legs, getting a major scar on his face because of the explosion that took his.
And then the big blow to it is the one person that he thought believed in him kind of just he feels at least abandoned him. With Nanbu.
And a lot of this and I like the fact that Nanbu, even though he's a lazy, greasy asshole that manipulate people to get his way, and he's afraid of getting killed by mobsters, he tried to apologize to Aragaki for not being there when he needed him the most. And
Aragaki is honestly sort of an unfair thing because my dude was missing in action. Well, said to be killed in action and was gone for years.
Yeah.
It's not like Nanbu just said, fuck him. He lost we don't know what happened to the gym, but the gym won't even fucking open at the time.
Yeah, and Nanbu was visibly distraught when he thought that Aragaki died.
Yeah.
And it's not like, and I think Nanbu said it himself, it's not like he forgot Aragaki. He just thought he died. And I think Aragaki can't really put that together in his head.
Yeah, and I mean, that also reflects on, we get to see more layers behind Nanbu's kind of apparently, surface level detached personality. And we see that, he's kind of had to detach himself because of the world that they're in, all the shit that's gone down in their world over that time period. Because obviously Nanbu is an old man, so he's been through all the shit.
Yeah, and someone who has trained boxers, like different kinds of boxers through his lifetime. There's a lot of pride that you take in when you train people in the sport that you love or anything that you do. And to see the brightest people just die, it will destroy you.
And I like the kind of almost maybe it's because I'm Catholic I'm pulling this parallel, but I like the Cain and Abel kind of thing they got going on with Joe and Aragaki because Nanbu is.
Well, let's hope it's not Cain and Abel.
Let's hope not.
Well, but you know what I mean, because obviously
the chosen and scorned son.
Yeah, because Joe, and it's it also that parallel because Joe always calls Nanbu Pops, and he feels as again Aragaki feels as though he was abandoned, and Nanbu chose a new favorite, and he's Joe is the one he's trying to take to Megalonia, not Aragaki, but Aragaki made it up here his damn self, and he's gonna prove a point to his dad, quote unquote dad.
Yeah, someone that practically built him up.
Yeah.
To destroy the thing that, the new thing he holds dear. And that's what I find interesting, and I cannot wait for the next episode to see what happens next. I mean,
actually, I think Tony touched on something that's pretty interesting. That there's the angle of Nanbu having abandoned Aragaki and him, having pursued boxing as a way to rehabilitate himself, but also to, sort of add validity back to his life. But it sort of adds a new dimension to it when you really think about how he spent so much time trying to, rehabilitate himself and grow again from his suffering. And then suddenly there's just this rookie rising up through the ranks and turns around and it's this old master who's bringing him up through the ranks. It's like, wow, I can't have shit around you, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the whole motivation, I think, behind Aragaki saying, I'm going to break your new...
Yeah.
I will break him.
And you know, this might be an unpopular opinion because I mean, Yuri's cool and all, and like obviously he's the end game, you know, fight. But I honestly am more interested in Aragaki than I am in Yuri.
Oh, I 100% agree with you on that front. I mean, Aragaki as an
it's a much more personal thing. Yeah, exactly.
As the current boxer that Joe's facing, he is the most emotionally charged that we've seen so far. But it's not because it's a connection to Joe directly; it's a connection to Joe indirectly through Nanbu.
Exactly.
And with that, I think we got all of our thoughts on Megalobox out there. It's one of the greatest shows this season, I think, of this year, like Jordan said.
Yeah, seriously, guys, go watch this show. We are not just jerking it to jerk it. It definitely deserves it.
And I don't know what your damage would be if you don't find anything, at least one thing that you can appreciate from this show. I'm sorry if that sounds a bit harsh, but
I mean,
honest to God truth.
If you don't like this show, I don't like to be this type of person usually. So I usually don't like these type of people when they say this kind of stuff. But if you can't find anything to appreciate about Megalobox, I have a hard time believing that you're an actual anime fan.
Right.
I wouldn't go that far, but
I feel like
anime. If you like things that have compelling story, or if you enjoyed the sort of early '90s era of anime, you definitely find something to like about Megalobox. Honestly, even if you don't like any of those things, the just sheer intensity of the show, or
just everything feels so visceral, man. You get wrapped up in every single punch thrown. It is just beautiful.
That's one thing you can take away from this show if you end up don't liking a lot of the aspects of it. You get to feel every bit of impact from the punches or the emotional metaphorical punches.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's not even just the animation, the sound design, like the sound when those punches connect, it's just crazy.
Mm-hmm. And since we mentioned this, since we are children that watched Toonami back in the day that had dubs, let's go to the Otaku Soapbox talking about dubs in general, or subs versus dubs when it comes to anime watching.
Okay, so first of all, let's start this by saying, just making this absolutely abundantly clear, this argument in general is stupid.
Definitely. It is a very stupid argument. You can find enjoyment in watching subbed only, which is fine, or watching dubbed only, which is also fine. And also, at least I personally, and Jay is the same way as well, we like both subs and dubs. And Jordan, I think you mentioned this earlier, but
Jordan is mainly a sub person. Except for the stuff he started off with in dubs.
Right.
Yeah. So for me, so I agree. The sub versus dub argument is stupid. Regardless of if you like subs, then, watch subs. If you like dubs, then watch dubs. Me personally, I honestly couldn't care what language my anime is being spoken in. I'm also one of those weird people that watches the Chinese animations. King's Avatar is great. But
I watch the Korean
and the Chinese voice actors. I don't care. Show is good to me. Nonetheless, I guess the core argument for me being the sub versus dub, and the reason I lean towards subs more than dubs, is simply because I'm not like a anime hipster or anything, but I watch a lot of things that just don't get dubbed. They don't have the appeal nor the sales.
Yeah, I mean, the availability argument
to be subbed, and I would like to watch them, so I don't limit myself to dubs. Also, even if there is going to be a dub, they're not always dubbed in a fashion that I find fast enough. Sometimes you'll have dubs that are 5 or 6 episodes behind, a whole season behind. It's very rare to get a simul dub, and then a lot of the times I don't like the simultaneous dubs.
Yeah, it's because
I actually tried a simul dub for the first time this past week with this episode of My Hero Academia, and I was surprised at how good or how much I enjoyed the sub. Could I watch the dub? Could I watch the sub right afterwards just for a comparison's sake? And I was like, oh yeah, the dialogue is exactly the same, and the delivery is pretty spot on. So I'm like, I can watch both really.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing I find interesting though about simul dubs in particular is just when they choose to premiere them. Like in my experience, when they first started doing, when Funimation did simul dubs for the first time, it's always the third episode when the dub of the first episode comes in.
Yeah, they did that at first, but now it's literally within hours of the Japanese release because I know because I know it went the sub went domestic on Crunchyroll for My Hero Academia at like 4 a.m. and then the dub came out at like I want to say 11 a.m. U.S. time EST. Because I watched it. I want to say I watched it around 11. I wasn't actively searching, but I watched it around 11 on Funimation because I decided, you know what, forget it. I'm gonna go ahead and add Funimation since I like dubs to begin with. So I got it. I got the free trial code or whatever, and I was like, all right, let me do this. Thanks, Donovan.
I pay money to have.
Oh no, I'm gonna pay when the code runs out. I'm just thanking our friend Donovan for giving me the code, his free code that he has because even with Crunchyroll you get the passes for when you when you pay for it. So yeah, I got our boy hooked me up. And I was like, all right, cool. Let me go ahead and just check this out because I mainly wanted it because I want to watch the Yu Yu Hakusho OVAs in English because I can't watch Yu Yu Hakusho in sub. Which is again, this is another point I want to bring up is really the core of whether you prefer a sub version or a dub version of something is what you watched first. However, there are rare occasions where you watch a dub first and then you're like, as a kid, you're like, oh, this is awesome. And then you turn around and watch the Rurouni Kenshin sub, and you're just like, oh, Lord.
Say, Jeremy, you talking code? No, you threw it smooth out the window. All right.
And it's a thing that's really crazy because in my experience, and people are going to know this and also you guys will know this little bit of information about my anime watching as well. I took it upon myself to actually watch the current Yu-Gi-Oh anime, which is Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains, and I watched Arc 5 when it was airing. I didn't finish it because I just lost track and I didn't really care at that point. But when you watch a Yu-Gi-Oh! Series in particular, subbed and then dubbed, it's
Yu-Gi-Oh! In Japanese is weird. So I tried watching the original Duel Monsters.
Believe me, there's a lot of context taking out from when Duel Monsters was dubbed first.
Oh yeah, I agree.
No, but here's the surreal thing. The one that I want to point out that's actually kind of surreal is that they totally changed characters as well. Which Kaiba is not that much of a narcissist. He actually has a philosophy to life that. It's very different from his dub counterpart who just wants to face off against Yugi all the time.
Yeah, and because because 4Kids wanted to create a Vegeta for Yugi. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's real. But then another thing about dubs that specifically for what happened to Yu-Gi-Oh! When Arc 5 had a duel that explored cities getting destroyed, stuffed animals and mechanized birds getting torn to pieces. Yeah, they toned down that level of violence in the dub as well, which is surreal. But the one thing that I would like to point out When Toonami came back and they started putting new anime onto the time slot, you got shows like A Company Got Killed, which watching that dubbed is kind of surreal.
That was a weird experience watching dubbed. I tried watching it and it was weird.
By far, I think the funniest because I watched this show subbed and I loved it subbed anyway. And when I watched the dub of it, it just actually made me laugh even more. Was One Punch Man.
One Punch Man's dub is fantastic.
Oh yeah,
Saitama's voice is perfectly deadpan.
Oh yeah,
in a way that the sub voice is not.
I've never listened to the dub, and I'm honestly not inclined to do so because I find the sub to be sufficient.
Yeah, I agree. Well,
yeah. Oh no, I'm not saying the sub is bad for One Punch Man. I'm just saying I agree with Tony. When I actually watched the dub, I found the dub even more hilarious than the sub.
Saitama's English voice actor, Max Milton. He's a very talented voice actor. I will give him that because I only know his name because he's the English voice for Ryuichi Sakamoto in Persona 5. And even though his pronunciation of Sakamoto is very wrong, I like the voice. I just liked his voice for Ryuichi, and his voice for Saitama is by far fantastic. I love it. And
again, like I was saying, it just depends on where you start, right? Like for all of us, I think we all can agree that the Dragon Ball dub is gonna be where we prefer it because I've gotten used to the sub watching Super week to week, but man, was that first period of watching it subbed very difficult.
Or when you hear Goku's Japanese voice for
no disrespect to Masako Nozawa. Masako Nozawa has been doing this for like 30, 40 years now, and she is fantastic. She's like 98 and still screaming. So good for you.
Good on her for being like the consistent voice for a character for that long. I mean,
she does the entire Son family. She does Goku, Gohan, and Goten. But yeah, she's great. But that first adjustment period, hearing that voice is just so weird. So like again, yeah, I couldn't like other shows that I watched on Toonami as a kid. I could not watch subbed. Now, granted, I only watched Trigun like 2 years ago, despite what everybody kept telling me to watch Trigun. So I watched it subbed, and I enjoyed Trigun subbed.
Trigun's great, regardless of how you listen to it.
Yeah. I'm
just upset you just watched it this recently. What do you mean to tell me all these years I thought we were friends, and I guess we were.
I mean, like, okay, Trigun was the only 90s era anime that, like, I thought was too overhyped for me to watch. Like, yeah, okay, I bought, because like Big O was the first one where I was like, yeah, it was so good that America wanted more of this when Japan was like, nah, this is dumb.
And how can you say no to a giant robot story? How can you?
Although, okay, this is kind of going a bit on a tangent, but so I recently tried to watch Gundam Wing, with our friend Donovan that I mentioned earlier, when we were at my house just hanging out, and I was just like, I don't remember this show being this boring. I remember a lot of cool robot fights, but this is just a lot of like really boring, really slow talks about trade, tax, tariffs, and.
Well, it is a political show.
Yeah, but like I don't know, man. 8-year-old me, I don't feel like could have sat through this. I don't know how 8-year-old me sat through all that. Or no, it's not even 8-year-old. It was like 6-year-old me. I don't even like.
A very young me got exposed to the harem genre very early when I watched the Tenchimuri Ryo-Oki OVA for the first time, and on Toonami. That was a surreal moment in my young life.
I didn't get into harem stuff until like middle school, because that's when I started reading like Ramna One Half.
No, that was the most unconscious thing that I had, but that little nugget is still there in my memory, because it is the sole reason why I watched Tenchi at all. And the reason why I highly love GXP, even though its romance plots are awful, it's just utter garbage, but I love it anyway. And its dub is actually fantastically done. I haven't, for a comparison, I haven't watched it subbed yet. To be fair, there's a lot of shows that, like Jay said before, when you first experience it in one way, that's kind of how you will always watch it.
Because nostalgia is a huge factor, whether you try to deny it or not. Nostalgia is always going to be a big factor in your enjoyment of something, especially if it's part of your childhood.
And the one thing that I would like to point out is that there would be some people that would make this argument, they just when you dub something in another language, it's going to ruin all the integrity of like the jokes if it's a comedy show. Let me point out to you that the comedy in the Defragments dub is still spot on, even though it's a bit wonky at times. Like
I also
really
enjoy the Devil is a Part-Timers comedy, especially because it's set in a McDonald's ripoff, and McDonald's, although being a global franchise, is strongly associated with America.
Yeah, because it makes us fat. But still, my point here is that the reason why I have some issues with the Defragments dub is because it's a very personal, very petty reason. They took out one of my favorite jokes, or they altered it in such ways that it wasn't that funny. It's basically how the dub did Takao Thunder.
Ah, okay.
And I only love, in the Japanese version, it's Roka, when she's basically giving Takao shit for having huge breasts, or I forgot the real context of it. Basically, she said, Takao Thunder, Takao Thunder, Takao Thunder. And two random dudes, in that same stretch of hallway, imagines Takao shooting lightning from a magic wand in a very sexy witch's costume. And they say, we like Takao Thunder, but in Japanese. I thought that shit was funny. When they dubbed it, they changed it, I could get used to this. It was the thing that the two dudes said. I'm like, oh, come on, really? Is that... Sure, you're matching words. It annoys the shit out of me that you took out my favorite bit, you assholes.
I want to test out the, I hear an echo. I think, hold on. It's still there. Where is that coming from? Whatever.
I have no idea.
Well, Jeremy, it's picking up only on your screen with your mic, so you...
Yeah, I think it'd be you.
Really? Because usually if I can hear the echo... No, now it's gone. But usually if you can hear the echo, it's not coming from you. But whatever. But what I was going to say is I do want to test out more comedies dubbed, because just to see if the jokes hold up. Especially something like Konosuba, which has me dying on a regular basis.
And here's the thing about that, though. And we could do an entire episode of Weeb Warriors just on that show alone. And by the power of Grayskull, we will have that happen.
And look, viewers, I'm telling you right now, if you're going to be on that stream and in the chat, if you start spamming Megumin is best girl, we're reporting you for pedophilia.
And support terrorism.
Yeah.
Just no.
No more.
Tony, please, for the love of all things holy, drop the your waifu is trash link in the description of this video.
Oh, I intend to.
Yeah, so enjoy that, people. But yeah,
you should have done. That's what you should have linked to in last week's episode when you discussed Best Girls.
Yeah,
this is a nice. That's a great video to encapsulate.
If you want to have like some of the most like base thoughts on like some anime characters in the most immediate way possible, just give that one. Because
bitches get riches.
Because thanks to Jordan, I have a new appreciation for Quetzalcoatl from
Kobayashi's Dragon. Yo, if we're doing a Kobayashi's Dragon Rage episode, I already know what to make for that thumbnail.
Anyway, so the one thing that I like to point out is that even though Konosuba is very popular in Japan and also here to some degree, I have no idea if it's going to get dubbed or not. Simply because
it's probably not.
And I think, in my honest opinion, I prefer it that way.
Yeah. Even
though most people fan dub it, or for whatever reason do abridgments, which that shit's also kind of funny.
I've seen a couple of good fan dubs, yeah.
With Konosuba, I think it's a very special case. Like, we would want a dub of it, but do we really want it realized? No. Because the comedy in it.
And I don't want a dub of it.
True. Like, neither do I, even though most people... I agree with you, Jordan. I don't want to see a dub personally because I think the comedy in it is fine in its original language.
I think the comedy
argument I feel like a lot of people have for always wanting a dub is if you are... if you have some difficulty in which you have to read subtitles and process information.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, if the dub exists and you so happen to watch it first, so be it. If the dub exists and you're just a lazy fuck like I am sometimes and don't want to read subtitles, or you only want to half watch it, that's another thing. A lot of times I'll rewatch anime as a dub because I've already seen a lot of the scenes, so I will not be looking at whatever it is.
I like having dubs are very good for background noise. Because like a lot of times I can't fall asleep without like having some kind of screen on. So a lot of times I'll just have like I'll have like anime queued up in the background.
Yeah, for me personally, since I work graveyard and I want something to listen to while I'm mindlessly working on the cleaning that I do, I just pop on either music or something dubbed. For the most part, it's like, this is how I watched The Disastrous Life of Psyche K. I watched all the episodes dubbed while I was cleaning. It's the most hilarious thing, and I just realized a lot of stuff about that show and its comedy just by mindlessly working. It's funny.
But yeah, no, I think, like, honestly, no one's gonna shame you for your preferences, at least on this show. If you like subs, you like subs. No one here is an elitist who thinks subs are the purest form and therefore the best because it's the original source, blah blah blah.
I mean, if you want to talk about original sources, then move to Japan and watch it raw. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say, move to Japan, watch it raw, or move to Japan and read the manga in Japanese.
Yeah, buck up if you want to be that much of an elitist. I mean, the one thing that I would always say is that no matter if you watch something subbed or dubbed, as long as you enjoy the show, does it really matter?
Yeah, because I mean that's the whole thing, right? That's supposed to be about with the anime community. Like, it's always been kind of a marginalized, oh, you like anime type thing. Like, especially like growing up in a time where anime wasn't as popular. Like, it was always one of those things that was stigmatized. So like the thing about the anime community is the fact that we like the same thing in the series should be enough. All these stupid little divides that exist within like community and I guess just I mean, the broader argument is fandom in general, but in the anime community in particular is really stupid. And the strongest one that people have is sub versus dub, which honestly I think, especially given the improvements in technology today, and especially when it comes to the quality of dubbing, that argument is invalid.
Pretty much, yeah. And one thing that I will like to point out is that even though some of the shows that I watched subbed that I enjoyed very much so, when I hear that they get dubs, I'm ultimately curious. And I want to see how it turned out. Like, for example, the strangest thing that happened to me when I first found out that Monster Matsume was going to get a dub.
Oh, I watched the dub.
Forget the dub. I was surprised it was getting an anime to begin with. I was like, how are they? Who let this be legal?
I'm saying, and they even came out with the uncensored version was the one that was released first when it was coming out. That is crazy.
Fucking beautiful. But still,
that's the one manga in Barnes and Nobles that is in plastic all the time.
Always. But the one thing that hopefully people take anything out of this assortment of ramblings from everyone here is that, like I said, and like Jay has said, and what Jordan has said, if he said it already, that it doesn't really matter. If you want to be an asshole, then buck up and just move to Japan. But if you want to just enjoy anime however you want to, that's totally on you. And the another thing I will say is that depending on what you want to say about a dub, you always have to appreciate the amount of work and effort that we here in the West try to do when it comes to like scripting, to trying to find the voice actors that perfectly fit the characters, like for who they are as individuals. And just the way that we took our own ways of sound production, Foley work, and just wanting to replicate something that was already done in Japanese and trying to make it more equitable and accessible here in the West. I think that's
I mean, especially like the early 90s work is extremely commendable with how well those ended up turning out.
I mean,
given the limited technology.
Yeah, some stand the test of time, and some, by the grace of God, are just shoved on the wayside into the garbage bin.
Like, let's be real here. Even sub purist will tell you that the Berserk 90s dub is far superior to anything that has been released in the 2010s. That has the Berserk name attached to it.
True.
Well, I mean, they would say that about any quality about the anime.
But I think
real quick, best dub ever, hands down, regardless of what you're talking about, is the Ghost Stories dub.
Yes.
The Ghost Stories dub is hilarious. That is one of my favorite dubs ever.
Best dub ever. It doesn't matter what you think or say. The Ghost Story dub is amazing.
Yeah.
And the worst part about it is that even though it is a joke dubbing, the story still continues.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about it, because Ghost Stories as just a show in general is rather bland and boring. So apparently the dub crew thought it would be funny to just change it up a bit and just go off the walls crazy. And just that dub alone is like the pinnacle of like dub.
I agree with you.
So misguided in some ways, but yet it's so beautiful, taking a boring show and making it so much more funnier.
Because it's the perfect just give no fucks. Like when you give no fucks in the best way, there is no way you can come out with a bad product.
Okay, so overall, we all agree that the Ghost Stories dub is by far the best. But out of us personally, and I want to just make it a round circle here, what is the best dub that you've ever listened to? And why don't we start with Jordan?
The best dub I've ever listened to?
Mm-hmm.
So we're not including Ghost Stories in this, okay?
Because we all agree that it's by far the best.
Well, it's not that hard because I haven't heard that many. So the problem is with me is that I never really judge an anime by the quality of its voice actors, except for Black Clover, because I've never been so very annoyed. But the just sheer quality of something, I think Lelouch v. Britannia of Code Geass has the strongest voice, like dub voices that I've heard in a very long time. But I actually just like that voice actor's work.
Yeah, like I was about to say, shout out to Adam Park, the Black Ranger.
Yep, Johnny Gosh. Gotta give him a lot of
man.
what he's done.
He is great. Like you brought Ichigo. Like Bleach has a very solid dub thanks to Johnny Young Bosch, and I will agree with you there, actually, Jordan. I think Code Geass has the best dub I've ever heard. Cause I mean, man, like it's like that taught me that Lelouch's name is always written in caps, because Lelouch never just says his name. You can never just say Lelouch v. Britannia. No, you gotta like say that with some emphasis.
Lelouch v. Britannia.
Oh man, yeah. That's one where I will, like, whenever I do rewatches of Code Geass, I always do one sub and then one dub back to back with both R1 and R2. Which we are definitely going to do a Geass episode around the time of R3, whenever that actually gets announced.
Whenever that happens. But honestly, for me, since I've pretty much watched a lot of like a good balance between dub and subbed anime, but I think the one that I always turn to the most for like constant viewing to just make me feel warm and fuzzy inside is Rosario Vampire, and that dub in particular I think is one of my favorites personally, and by far one of the best I've ever heard. But
see, if we're talking warm and fuzzies, then my answer for warm and
far the funniest one that I've ever listened to, of which I think it's a perfect quality in its own right, is My First Girlfriend is a Gal's dub.
I've never heard the dub for that. Is that a good one?
They basically they turn the gals into sounding like Valley girls for comparison.
Okay, I can imagine the main girl as a Valley girl, but
they all sound like Valley girls. The shit's hilarious.
Even her lesbian friend?
Yes. In a way, she does kind of sound like a Valley girl. But the one thing I will point out, the jokes that they make in this show, like when you watch My First Girlfriend's a Gal, the jokes are pretty funny.
Except for the one that's about pedophile dude.
He needs to go to jail. Someone needs to get him. Someone needs to get him down.
But
he needs to go die in a fire. But the one thing I will point out is that they make a lot of jokes that are more referential to our culture. It's kind of surreal. If you saw if you look, Jay, if you looked at the Discord in the anime portion of the chat, I posted a video showing one of the female characters named Yui from that show.
Yui is the one with the pink-haired one. That's the pink-haired one.
Yui is the girl with the snake motif to her.
Oh, okay.
The video itself is called Yui Delusional Bitch Moments.
Huh. Well, so if we're talking about comedy and the funniest dub, I would have to say one of the best ones in that regard would have to be High School of the Dead. And the reason
Agreed.
The reason I say that is because Japan isn't really known for its isn't as big on zombie tropes and cliches as we are. Since Romero was kind of the originator of what we know today as the modern classic zombie. So what I like about the dub especially is just because how vehemently they reference the different zombie aspects of zombie culture in America, as well as just all the cursing and foul language in that dub. I don't know. It sounds better in English than it does in Japanese. I don't know what it is.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but I think with that we can just end the video here. So, any closing thoughts from you guys?
Watch Megalobox.
Well, that goes without saying, Jay.
I'm gonna keep saying it until they do it. Watch Megalobox, damn it.
Yeah, we just have to we have to get a mic controlling psychic to just have people get a Crunchyroll subscription or just watch it for free and just watch Megalobox all day long.
I would say get a Crunchyroll subscription, because if you do, then that would be more likely for stuff like Megalobox to continue. I mean, I'm not gonna pretend to be a saint and say I've never used a pirate site before, but if you really want these type of quality animes to continue, and I don't want to sound like that guy, but I'm gonna have to, please support the official release.
Yeah, just to help a bit of the industry, even though some may have shady practices, it's probably one of the few ways we get to see the things that we enjoy.
Are we having a follow-up soapbox episode about if we should or should not pirate anime?
We will. Yeah, we'll definitely. We'll definitely talk about that one next.
Because clearly you should pirate anime, and I'm gonna tell you why in the next soapbox episode. I'm kidding. I've seen an opinion piece on it though about why you should pirate anime, and the reasoning being behind it is that piracy intentionally does take money away from the primary developers and things of that nature, but it's done because it creates competition where there is none.
Okay.
Other streaming services never have to give you more than the bare minimum because they're the only ones providing for this niche field outside of piracy. So if you continue to pirate things, then if they want their money, they're going to have to innovate. If you keep supporting them with your dogmatic and moralistic views, then they can continue to do whatever the hell it is they wish to do.
I definitely want to do a full soapbox on this, because this is definitely one of the deeper topics in the anime community as well. So yeah,
we can save that discussion for a future episode. But overall, we got all of our thoughts across. We reviewed a lot of great shows and a lot of great episodes this week. By far the best was episode 5 of Megalobox, bar none.
Yep.
So tune in next week, everybody, where we'll be talking about these same shows again, and hopefully our buddy Brian will be coming in next week to talk about Sword Art Online Alternative, Gun Gale Online.
Yep, so, and we'll get like a kind of a fresh anime fan's perspective on anime, as opposed to us three jaded fucks.
Yeah, more or less. So until then, this has been Serpentine 451, aka Tony, and Jay. Since you have your own channel, anything you want to plug for right now?
I'll be super quick. I review a bunch of different TV shows on my personal channel, Mr. J's Reviews. Mostly all the DC Comics CW shows, as well as stuff like Riverdale. I also review shows like Atlanta, Rise, and Westworld, The Handmaid's Tale. I watch a lot of TV, you guys. And I also, in terms of anime, the only series I cover individually on my personal channel is My Hero Academia. So every Saturday, usually either, depending on when I wake up, it's either going to be early morning or early afternoon when those go up. So look for those if you want more My Hero Academia stuff. If you want like a longer form discussion than what we have here, definitely check that out. But that's pretty much it. I also have a general TV podcast that I do host with Brian every Friday or Saturday, depending on the day. And next week we'll be talking about the Netflix series Lost in Space, the Lost in Space reboot. So that's going to be fun. So definitely check that out if you haven't yet. I also reviewed Infinity War. So if you want to vent your feelings about that, watch that.
which I saw today, but
different topic entirely.
I might talk about that, but that's besides the point. But Jordan, do you have anything you want to plug or tell anybody tell anyone who's going to be watching this video where to follow you at on social media?
No, I don't. I'm not a YouTuber, professional, nor hobbyist. I have no I have a channel just like everyone else, but there's nothing up there for you to follow. I'm an amateur writer, but I don't have anything published, so I guess keep your eyes out for that.
All right, good enough. So, see you later, everybody.
Peace.